welcome everyone to another episode of the ATP Show. It's been a little bit of a break since we've had our last show just because had some scheduling issues, had some HVAC issues at the house because now I record these podcasts at the house. But everything is good, and I've got my next guest here. So just a reminder, this show, the ATP Show, it stands for Achieve Through Progression. So we interview successful individuals and we talk to them about the progressions, the steps that they took to get through their level of success. So our guest today is Mr. Z Dang. He's a man of many talents. He's, from what I hear, a mathematician.
Oh man, that's overrated, but yes, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. He's also a professional poker player, or at least was. Restaurateur, and currently CEO of what he calls Happy Endings Hospitality. So, Z, before we get started, why is your name pronounced Z but spelled D-I? That always threw me off when I first met you, actually.
I didn't expect that as the first question, but
it throws everyone off because it's spelled D-I. So is that like Vietnamese? Is that a way that they pronounce D's?
Yeah, I think this is, everyone calls me D at first, or Dai.
Yeah.
But it's because it's Vietnamese, my parents named me this. And then in Vietnamese, we have a character that looks like a D, but it's pronounced with the Z sound.
Okay.
So when it got translated to English, we don't have that character, so we're just it's spelled D-I, but it's pronounced Z.
Okay. I mean, that's same like Chinese. Chinese people can't pronounce V's, so they pronounce V's like W's. So it's kind of weird. Yeah. So I'm assuming it's kind of the same thing. You guys don't have a D, so it just becomes a Z. All right, yeah. Just wanted to get that out of the way. And then before we get too far into the podcast, I need you to explain what is Happy Endings Hospitality, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea about what it is. We'll dive deeper into this, but what is Happy Endings Hospitality?
No, we get this question a lot, but it's not what you think it is. Well, you know it's a restaurant group, so maybe it is what you think it is, but it's our restaurant group. We call it Happy Endings Hospitality because I think one of the main people we look up to is Danny Myers, who's a restaurateur in New York. He founded Shake Shack, a bunch of other places that are known for their hospitality. So we kind of look up after him. So we call it Happy Endings because he's always talking about writing the last chapter for every guest. You can, even if you make a mistake, you can write the final chapter. So it's like we want to make sure that we make that a happy ending for them regardless.
Okay. All right.
Not
Perfect.
What you think it is.
Yeah. Just wanted to get that out of the way at the very beginning, just because, obviously, there's those assumptions of what happy endings are. So get that nice and quick out of the way. We'll dive deeper into that just to kind of see, how you came up with that name and all that stuff.
Don't worry, I got a lot of stories for that when we get there.
And then I like to start all of my podcasts with a real simple question, and it kind of sets the tone of the podcast. What do you define as success? Like, what is success for you?
Oh, you have a really cool sign. I was like, seeing if I can get some cues out
yeah.
there. But it's basically a sign that says what success is. But for me, I think success would be fulfillment as a whole. I think for different people, it's different how they define fulfillment. But for me, it's just, and this is our purpose too for Happy Endings. Our purpose is to empower fulfillment, which means basically helping people climb Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you know what that is, but basically he's a psychologist, Abraham Maslow, 1943, I think. He came up with this pyramid that talks about human needs, and everyone achieves their needs in that order. Everyone has desires and needs that they achieve in that order. So first you have your safety, like your physical needs. And then you have your security needs, which is like maybe make sure you have shelter, maybe making sure you have money for next meals, and then after that you have love and belonging, so friends, intimacy, relationships, and then after you get those needs met, then you go to esteem, which is like recognition, respect amongst your peers, and then maximizing your potential as a human being. So that's self-actualization. That's like the top, most, I guess the highest level.
Yeah.
And regardless of where people are, I think helping them climb to the next level, that would be like my definition of success.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, for some people, I think we noticed that it's like being able to be a good parent to their kids, being able to provide, like a shelter for their kids. They send money back home to, their country for their children at home. And for some people, it means like, getting the next promotion or achieving their professional goals. And for some people, it's spiritual. But regardless, I think just being able to keep growing, that's the definition of success.
So for you, is there like, you talked about how, provide for your family, send money back home, anything like that. Do you have anything specific to you that you kind of are doing? Like, is it take care of your parents or anything like that?
For me, I think I have a lot of things that I'm trying to work on at the same time, but I think just being able to turn all of my potential into like reality, that's success. Like if I knew that I left it all in the field, I guess, in life as a whole, if I achieved close to my potential as possible, then I think that's success for me.
Okay. Awesome, man. So let's go all the way back to your childhood. I want to get like, you don't got to go too in detail. You don't got to take too much time. Just a brief kind of story about your childhood, your upbringing, where like, obviously you're from Vietnamese descent. So were you born here? Were you born in Vietnam? Like all that.
Okay. So I was pretty much born here, but because I was the first child, my parents didn't speak much English at home. I was ESL for like the first 2 or 3 years that I went to school. So I literally didn't know any English. I think one time in school, I got sent to the principal's office for choking a guy out. And I didn't even do it, but he made it up. And I didn't understand what they were saying. So I think I kind of said I did it, or I nodded yes, and I laughed a lot. And then they told my mom and dad, and I always got in trouble. But I really don't remember doing that at all. So that's a story that I remember that I think traumatized me a little bit. I was always scared to get in trouble like the rest of my childhood. So I think not speaking English, but eventually learning English, and then I just grew up in Northern Virginia. Been here my whole life.
Yeah, same here.
Nice.
So were you when do you, I mean, it's probably kind of hard to remember, but when did English become kind of like natural to you? When were you, pretty good at English, understanding school and all that stuff?
I think about second grade. So maybe when I was 6 or 7, I think, around that age.
And were you pretty good in school, like elementary school, high school and all that stuff?
I think my parents always really stress education. I think most Asians parents do.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to be the best math student in class. I remember like always beating everyone in like those math race contests, speed drills, as they call it. So I was always pretty good at math, and I was always okay at English.
Okay.
But, I think overall a good student.
Yeah. So, typical Asian upbringing where you're kind of just focusing on studies.
Yeah, I think so. I always wanted to play sports and go out and play, but my parents were very, I think, strict with that.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, did they ever let you play sports?
They did not. I think partially because we didn't have the resources, like financially growing up.
Okay.
But partially because also they wanted us to focus more on education too.
Yeah. And now, did you play any instruments or anything like that? Piano?
My parents sent me to piano class for, I think, maybe when I was in 4th grade for a little bit, but it was very short. It was kind of expensive too, but I think they always wanted us to learn an instrument. Okay.
And then what about like high school? Like as you got older and stuff, were you still, pretty studious in high school, not partying, not getting into trouble and stuff?
Yeah, I actually think this will come in handy later on, but I went to Thomas Jefferson High School, which was, I think it was a magnet school for science and technology, mathematics.
You have to be invited to go to that school, right?
Yeah,
or you have to like apply to get to that school or something.
So if you're, I think only 400 students each year make it into that school, and it's very competitive. So it was in my 8th grade year, and you take a test, you do essays, and then if you're one of the top 400 students in Fairfax County, then you get to go to the school for high school.
Was it because of your math skills? Is that what got you in, or were you pretty much like well-rounded?
No, it was my math skills. Okay. I think I was competing in like a lot of competitions back then, and I was like at the top of my school.
So you were like a legit mathlete? Like you were going to those like math competitions?
I wish I still had the shirt that they gave me when I was in 8th grade. I was like, it says mathlete on it. It was from the Math Counts competition, which is a pretty big one around this area. But
dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah. I think that was something that I was really competitive in. So
Okay,
I
well that's
took it like
good.
a sport almost.
Yeah,
So
that was your sport. It wasn't basketball or soccer or anything like that. It was
yeah.
just math.
Sometimes I wish I played sports earlier though. I always had that dream. So
So now, when you graduated, TJ Thomas Jefferson, like, were you like the top of your class or anything like that, or were you, were you pushing to do that? Were your parents pushing you to do that? Did you achieve it?
going to Thomas Jefferson changed me completely because I was probably one of the dumbest kids in the class. So it was like I was probably one of the smartest kids in eighth grade. Then I went over there and I was just one. I just wanted to be average. That was like my goal.
Yeah,
I just wanted to be like, okay, if I can just fit in with everyone else, then that'll be my goal because it's impossible to be smart here. After like the first few tests,
yeah.
you can kind of tell that everyone's like leagues above you.
I mean,
There's
if they're only
levels.
letting like 400
Yeah.
kids, you're like among top of the top at that point, right?
Yeah, but I was the bottom of the top, if you will.
So
But you don't know that
still
though.
at the top. There.
Yeah.
So when you graduated, were you still kind of at the bottom?
I was at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everyone in Thomas Jefferson goes to UVA as their safety school.
That's like, so UVA is the safety school coming out of.
Yeah, but
TJ.
I didn't get in. I got waitlisted from UVA, so I went to Tech. So then I think I had a 3.1, which is like one of the lowest GPAs at Thomas Jefferson.
Coming out of that school.
Yeah, so
So you went to Tech
Tech for my first year, then I transferred over
to
to UVA.
UVA. Okay, and what were you studying in college? Was it math?
It was engineering, which I guess somewhat math.
It's a lot of
related.
math. Oh, what kind of engineering?
Did mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Mechanical
And
and also economics and business for a little bit.
okay, so a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I think so. I enjoyed the numbers.
Yeah. Did everything kind of remain the same when you were in college as far as like your studies, your lifestyle, like kind of how you spent your time? Were you still really studious, or did you start to let loose because you're in college? Right? So everyone in college kind of parties, you drink, you start experimenting with things, you start having more fun, you're more free. So were you still kind of like that Asian, studious, hit the books type of thing, or did you start to let loose a little bit?
I think I started to let loose a little bit, but it took until my third or fourth year.
Damn, that's pretty long.
Yeah, I was definitely a goody for a long
Okay.
time. Yeah, I didn't really drink. I didn't drink my first drink until I was like 20, about to be 21, pretty much.
Oh, so when you're actually legal?
Almost, yeah.
Good for you, man.
I don't know. I feel like it slowed down my social development, but yeah. But yeah, it's good in some ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you were good in school then, right?
I tried, but I wasn't like that great. But I was definitely I definitely felt better about my ability there than at high school. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Why do you feel you were not that good in school and college?
I mean, I think even in UVA, everybody's like that's one of the top schools already. So everybody's really intelligent and
Yeah.
works hard there as well. Everyone's like very ambitious as well at UVA. So
And were you, other than school and studying, what else were you doing in college? Like, did you start playing sports then, or did you have any like part-time jobs when you were in school?
I think the biggest thing that that kind of broke me out of my shell was joining the Vietnamese Student Association, VSA.
Yeah.
It had sports in it, and it felt good because I was actually one of the top. I mean, it's a bunch of like Viet kids who aren't that athletic generally, but like I was one of the top ones there. So then it gave me a little bit more confidence. Just doing things that I wouldn't do before, like acting on stage, things like that I would never do because I was always sheltered.
Okay.
So it broke me out of my shell, gave me a lot of friends that I guess I drank with.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So
Like that.
when you joined VSA, that's really when you started to kind of pick up other hobbies and sports and stuff, other than like just studying.
Yeah, I think so. It
Yeah.
was pretty much the one social thing that I did in college, but it led to a lot of other things
Okay.
as well.
What about work? Did you have a job or anything when you were in college?
I was a waiter for a little bit, but I think overall, I started playing poker in my third or fourth year of college, and after played a little bit, then we didn't really have to do anything else.
Yeah. And was this like in VSA? Were these like in-person VSA like tournaments, or were you just like starting to pick up like online poker and all that stuff?
Oh, I don't think VSA had anything to do with poker. It was
Oh, okay.
probably it was separate, but it was funny because we were using poker money, I was a treasurer one year.
Okay.
And instead of like doing the fundraisings, which didn't work, I just took that money and just threw it in there because
Oh,
I was
okay.
making so much instead of like spending hours like, doing a bake sale or something. I'm like, I'll just pay for it.
Yeah.
It was like a few hundred that we would have made off the bake sale.
And so you started poker, what, about junior year, you said?
About, I
Third.
think fourth year.
Fourth year?
Yeah.
Did you graduate from UVA?
Limped to the finish line. Failed nutrition, pass-fail at the end, but I still got to graduate.
Okay.
I didn't need it.
And what was your degree in?
It was mechanical engineering and minor in economics.
Okay. So now with, obviously, economics is helpful as a business owner to some degree. What about the mechanical engineering? Did you use it at all for even temporarily, or do you use it at all now?
I'm trying to think how I would want to answer this, but I think I tell people I don't need to go to college.
Yeah.
I don't see myself using it, but I do take a lot of skills that I think I have for granted.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I'm like, hey, can you write this email? And then I can do it very fast, for example, but it's like a lot of the stuff that we've already done. Or can you do the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
the stuff that we've already done? So I do think that I do use a lot of the basic skills that we learn from engineering.
Yeah, you're always going to be able to learn, like take things from experiences that you went through in college. But I guess I was more on specifically the mechanical engineering stuff. Like, do you use that at all?
If you hang out with me, you'll see that I don't know anything about like anytime something needs fixing or anything with machines, I have no idea what I'm doing. My friends always make the joke like, how'd you graduate with this degree?
Yeah.
They're just giving it out.
So now, how did your parents feel about you graduating from UVA with a mechanical engineering degree and not becoming an engineer?
I think that was a big argument that me and my dad had during my fourth year when I told him I was going to be a professional poker player. That was a big one, and I think they really wanted us to finish college.
Yeah.
Me and my brother, we were like 1 year ahead of him.
Yeah.
But they wanted us to finish just for safety, like a backup plan, and also having a degree is very prestigious in Asian cultures.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to finish, so we limped to the finish line.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't think
don't really use that stuff too much.
Don't really use it. But I think eventually my dad got over it. He understood. Oh, you're making like twice as much as I'm making a year now.
Well, you're successful and you're happy. That's all that really matters, right?
Yeah, I think so.
At least it should.
That's what it comes down to. For them too.
Yeah, I always like to kind of ask people, especially if they've graduated from college, if they're actually utilizing that degree. For instance, me, I graduated from Mason with a biology degree, and I was going to go, I did pre-med and was going to go to medical school.
Nice.
I don't really use that stuff anymore. Some of the basic information I learned in chemistry and physics and stuff I can apply to what I'm doing as a personal trainer and strength coach, but in general, man, none of that stuff really applies. So it's kind of weird how that works out. You spend all this time, getting this degree, and then sometimes you just don't even use it at all, and it's just like a lot of time and money spent into it. But you kind of touched on the poker thing, so let's get to that. In college, out of college, you were playing poker and you were doing really well to the point where you became arguably a professional poker player, right? So how did that come about? Like, when did you pick up poker? How did you get exposed to it? And then what made you decide to like kind of pursue it like fully?
Okay, so my fourth year, I think I was limping by my classes, like missing a lot of them and stuff like that. But I was able to make, I think this is summer now, and I was making probably about $13 an hour. I'd calculate it. Sometimes you win a lot. No, I mean at the restaurant too.
Oh, you're talking about like playing poker,
but also playing poker on the side. So I would, I was working as a waiter. But I was playing like little tournaments online poker when party poker first came out.
Okay.
And then I was calculating how much I make on average each hour is about $13 an hour. At the restaurant, about $13 an hour. My dad did not want me to play. He hates gambling. We have the uncle or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone has that story.
Yeah.
The uncle that
I've got
ruined
that
his
uncle.
whole family. Gambling everything away. So he didn't want us to gamble. So back then he just pulled out the modem every time we played at home.
Okay.
We have to connect to the internet back then.
Yeah.
So then we went to the PC cafe and then paid like $3 an hour to play, just so we can make that money because it's more fun playing, and then working waitering tables.
I mean, if you're making the same amount of money per hour waiting tables and playing poker, I'd rather just sit at a computer and play video games.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It was really cool because PC cafes were like cool place to hang out back
Yeah,
then
yeah,
too. So we went there, played, and then eventually as we got better and better, you know, the $13 went up to 14, 15, 16, $20 an hour. And then when we get back to school, I think I was calculating that on average I was making maybe $50 an hour.
Okay.
So that's when it started becoming like, you know, close to an engineer job. If you just count and you have more freedom playing, you can pick your own hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Then by the middle of the year, end of the year, it went up to like $100 an hour. I was calculating. Then it kept going up further and further as we climbed up the stakes. And eventually by the end of the year, I was like, oh, I can make $240K a year if I play 40 hours a week doing this. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when, you know, obviously you were keeping track. What was the highest hourly you were making off of poker?
in my like during college, or
Yeah, during college.
I think during college it was probably about 1,000. I
Per
mean,
hour?
yeah, it depends on how many. Like it depends on the situation, but if you have to average it, and poker is weird because some hours you might make
Yeah.
50,000 an
Yeah,
hour,
yeah.
and some literally 50,000 an hour if you get lucky
Yeah,
a bunch
yeah.
of times. But you know you have to average that, and with your losses, some hours you're losing 40,000 an hour. But I think if you average over a long time, it was probably like $400 or $500 an hour.
Damn,
Like
that's pretty good.
during college.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And how do you is there anything specific that you felt like helped you progress up in that hourly, right? So you say you started at 13. What were you doing? Were you just playing more to get to $15 per hour? Or were you studying books to get from 15 to like $30 an hour playing poker? Like, how did you progress up until you were making $500 an hour playing poker?
Yeah, so in college, I think that was my second or third year playing. So I only ended up around maybe $400 an hour, where you know you can calculate that out. It would probably be around a few 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
But after that summer, even going forward there, I think I made my max was about $5,000 an hour.
Okay.
So that was like, at the peak of my career. But I was asking myself this question because we're kind of plateauing in the restaurants. I'm like, okay, how did I break through with poker? Because there's a lot of parallels, even though it seems like two completely different universes.
Yeah,
One's
yeah.
gambling, one's business.
Yeah.
But I think the three biggest things that helped me the most was when I found a network of friends that eventually we shared secrets. We were like growing together. So that helped a lot instead of just learning it myself. I think with also my brother as well, because we kind of kept each other like we're competing against each other in a way, but it's like a friendly rivalry that brings out the best in each other. So I think, you know, just having that network helped a ton. I don't think we ever would have made it that far without it.
Okay.
And then reading books. So I think there was a time when I was stuck at like maybe 100,000 for the whole year on average, maybe like just an engineer job. But that book kind of took me to the next level.
Okay.
So I was able to break that plateau with that. And if I didn't find this book, then maybe I would have not chosen this path.
Okay.
And then the third thing was I think just hiring a coach that was ahead of me, almost like a coach / mentor. He was charging me like $100 an hour, but he'd be able to look at my play and then, you know, break down like all the things that I was doing wrong that I didn't notice. And eventually that coach obviously paid for himself like many times over.
Yeah. And so now, you know, these books and this coach that you're hiring or using to get better at poker. Obviously, you're good with numbers. Were these things to help you with that, like, you know, understanding the math, the probability, statistics of every hand, and all that stuff, or was it like the psychology, like kind of how to read people, or was it kind of combination of both? Like, what were you getting out of this book and this mentor when it comes to playing poker?
I think there's so much to poker. There's all those aspects that you talk about, like the probabilities, the numbers, the psychology of people, reading like just body language. There's a lot more like what mood are they in? Are they did they just find out some bad news at work? Are they like, you know, they're in that mindset, then they're going to be gambling more.
Yeah.
So that helps you with a lot of decisions. So it's like noticing everything that professionals would notice,
Okay.
instead of just one aspect, like just the numbers by itself.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Now that makes sense, you know, because I play poker with my friends, but man, I suck. Like, like I get impatient. I do stupid things just because, like, I just don't. I don't know, man. I get bored very, very easily. So poker's definitely not the thing for me. So, you know, when you're playing poker, was majority of that stuff online, or did you play in-person stuff at all?
I played when I was playing as a professional, it was mostly online.
Okay.
And then I eventually started playing more in person when the big games in Asia opened up.
Okay.
Because I think at that time they were they didn't want. I mean, this sounds racist, but the guys that were playing over there, they were like the billionaires. They
Okay.
could control who gets in the games.
Yeah.
And then they were saying, "Oh, we don't want white boys coming and taking our money." So then, being Asian helped me at least get in when
To get in there.
started. Yeah.
Damn, that's kind of weird. Because I just remember, like, I guess poker's still pretty big, but I remember there was a period of time where just poker was all over TV. What was it, the World Poker
Tour. Yeah.
Tour?
World Poker
Yeah,
Tour.
like the Texas Hold'em and stuff. And so I just remember watching that, and I played a little bit of online poker, but I remember everyone would always watch those in-person, like, poker tournaments and stuff. So, like, as far as your poker career, was majority of it online?
I'd say the majority, pretty much all of my winnings was online. I didn't
Okay.
win, or I might have even lost in Asia.
Okay, so
believe
the
it or not.
in-person stuff you actually weren't
Yeah.
as successful in.
Was not that successful, but it made the best stories. Though.
Yeah.
Online
So
poker is really boring if you just. Well, it's not boring. It's like playing a video game.
yeah,
And then because I can, also video game skills. I used to play like Halo and stuff
Yeah.
that. It does help with poker because at that time you're playing when you're making a lot of money. The reason online poker is so much better than in person is because you can play 10, 12, 14 games at one time.
Yeah.
So I'm literally like just clicking very fast because over time you're already used to like
yeah.
you're making all these decisions very fast, and then online they have a shuffler, so they do 80 hands per hour.
Okay.
In person, you get one table at 30 hands an hour. So it's 3 times faster pretty much per table times 10, 12, 14. So you can see how you can make 40 times
Damn.
as much.
I didn't know that's what you did. I didn't know you were playing more than one. Like, I assumed
Yeah.
you were just sitting there playing one tournament at a time.
Yeah, I think that's why online poker is so much better because you can
Yeah.
play so many more hands, the volume. And then
Yeah.
because of that, there was a time when I guess there was old timers, the people that you kind of see on TV.
Yeah.
And then there's a new age people that were starting to play online. So because they were able to play so many hands, the old players couldn't compete.
Damn.
You're able to like do 40 times as many hands in
Yeah.
1 hour. So then you learn a lot faster. You can pick up on their tendencies a lot faster.
Yeah.
It's just like a different.
That's
It's like how Uber took over taxis.
yeah. No, that's pretty interesting because like I seriously I didn't even think that people were online poker players would be playing multiple games at once, and that kind of like shows kind of who you are, right? Like you are looking at the numbers and you realize how to maximize, like how to make as much money as possible playing online poker. And you realize that playing online poker, if you just have, I don't know if you're doing it on multiple computers or not, but like if you just have like 10 different tournaments going all at once and you're just playing all 10 of those at once, you can maximize how many hands you're getting, how much money you're getting per hour. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty much
To
how
think
we
about.
calculated. Yeah, it was like how much can you make per hand, and then you multiply it out. And there's a lot of different types of games. So we had like trackers that kind of analyze your success at every single type of game.
Yeah.
So that we can see if is it worth it to add another game on.
Yeah.
Is a ninth table, even if because when you play more tables, obviously your focus is not going to be there per table.
Yeah.
But is the extra like add-on still worth it?
Yeah.
Or do you lose so much concentration from each of the other tables? So we have all these trackers that kind of track all that.
I was going to
for
say,
us.
did you have like a spreadsheet for that, or how were you guys tracking that?
There's poker tracking software that
Okay.
automatically imports all the hands and then
Okay.
tracks it. It tracks like tendencies of other players. It gives you so much information that you use to make quick decisions.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't know online
crazy.
poker was like that. I
Yeah,
was
that's
just
how it was.
in one game, just clicking, just waiting for the hands to come back around.
But it's still faster, even with one.
I mean, it's still
table
faster than
yeah.
like in-person stuff. So now, you did most of your gambling or poker playing online. When you got into that in-person stuff, like how was it? Was it fun? Did you enjoy it, or did you kind of regret it? Where you're like, man, I should have just stayed to the online stuff.
I think back then when I was playing, it was for a lot of different reasons, but I couldn't articulate it back then.
Okay.
It was because me and my brother disagree with this. I used to always want to play like the best players in the world. His logic is, why would you want to play the best players in the world? If you're the, let's say, the 10th best person in the world, and you're playing at the table at the top 9, you're gonna lose all your money.
Yeah.
Even if you're 10th best player in the world. So why don't you just wait for like the bad players to come in and take all their
Yeah.
money? But I think there was something else that I wanted to push and see how far I can get. But I didn't know how to articulate it back then. So
Was it like, so I would think that you would understand the math, the numbers, that you should play worse people to increase your chances of winning money. So now, was it like ego where you wanted to play like the better people, or like what was it? Like what drove you to want to like play the best people?
I think there was some component of wanting to learn from them and see
Okay.
what they do so you can improve yourself, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
desire to grow, I think, in that area.
Yeah.
But also ego. I wanted to, I think back then I wanted to be like famous,
Yeah.
much more so. It was a much bigger driver. So I wanted to have my names in, because whenever you played like the highest against the best players,
Yeah.
then there'll be a bunch of articles that does report on it. And
Yeah.
I can go Google myself and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'll be like, oh, you're in danger, loses, 300,000 or wins 500,000
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Phil Ivey, who's the best player
Yeah.
of all time.
So speaking of like fame and stuff, you've been on like magazine covers and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I think we were on a few of them back in the day when we were playing a lot.
Yeah. Do you have those framed up?
I don't. I think I might have one or two. It's not framed, but it's somewhere at my house if I can.
Man, you didn't even frame it. You weren't proud of that because you were just talking about how like you're like the reason why you wanted to play some of the better people was to kind of get to that level of fame to some extent. No, like
Yeah, I don't think I ever never made my
Never really
never
cared.
got famous
Yeah.
playing poker, which was disappointing to me back then. But now I
Yeah.
can see.
Now you're just like whatever.
Yeah,
Did you ever get on TV or anything like that?
I was on TV a few times, but
Okay.
it wasn't like a really long. Like a lot of other players were on TV way more often. And
Okay.
I was always trying to get to that level, but I
Yeah,
never made it
just
there.
just never made it onto the big screen.
Right.
And then as far as like all that the in-person poker playing, like were you traveling the world to play? Like you were talking about like the Asia games and tournaments and stuff. Like were you traveling to where's the place where everyone gambles in Asia? Macau?
Macau. Was
Yeah.
a big
So is that
one.
where you were going?
I was going to Macau mostly. There was some in Shanghai,
Okay.
London, and Vegas, of course. Vegas
Yeah,
every
yeah.
year there's a big one.
Yeah.
Vegas used to be the place where all the big games were, and then eventually I think it moved to Asia because they have more money than
Yeah.
people in Vegas.
So you were traveling a good amount then for playing in person, right? Like
Yeah.
how long was that for? Like how long did you play in person stuff for?
I think I was playing pretty much until 2012.
Okay.
And then that's when we started our first restaurant. I was playing on and off, still
Okay.
traveling in like the best games until like 2015 or something
Yeah.
like that.
And like that sounds like an awesome life to be able to just travel around the world and play poker, right? Like were you enjoying yourself or were you
I'm trying to think. I don't think I knew enough to enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like having trips with the family,
Yeah.
my mom and dad, everyone, and I just sat in the hotel room by myself playing when everyone else went.
like
We
having
were in
fun?
Japan, yeah, and then they were at like Muscle Park, like all the cool,
Yeah.
like the Ninja Warrior stuff that you see on TV.
So
I
you
wanted
didn't
to do that.
you didn't even get to
just-
enjoy traveling then?
Yeah, I was just sitting in my hotel room playing, and I remember losing so much money that day that it kind of ruined a lot of that trip too. So
So you're just like so depressed about the money you lost?
yeah, I just remember I wish I was out more because
Yeah.
back then it was all about like going up the rankings.
Yeah. Damn, that kind of sucks.
It does a little bit for sure.
And then like I mean, you were in hotel rooms playing. Were you in like straight penthouses and stuff like that since you were making so much money playing poker?
Sometimes when we're in Vegas, but I think overall when we're in Japan, every room is really small. So
Okay.
I remember that one. Those are really small rooms.
Okay. And so now with these in-person stuff, like, a lot of these bigger tournaments, like the buy-ins are pretty big, right? So what was like the biggest buy-in that you had to pay to play in?
So these aren't tournaments; they're cash games. So
Okay.
you can take more money out.
Okay,
If you
okay.
Bust out. You can just put more money on the table,
Okay.
and anyone can leave whenever they want.
Okay. So what is the biggest amount you've lost? Like in person?
In person, I think biggest pot was probably about let's see here, maybe I lost about $1 million in one hand.
In one hand?
Yeah, so
Did that not?
that hurts for sure.
Yeah, I was like, how do you walk away from that and not be upset?
No, you're definitely upset. It ruins you for a little bit, but you
Oh,
can't show it at the table.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'd flip the table, man, if I lost $1
Yeah.
million.
Well, it was really painful for sure.
So now, what did you do after you lost that?
I remember the biggest losing session. I just went to sleep because these sessions are really long, and I think I slept for like 20 something hours straight. It's like you play sometimes for 40 something hours just on Red Bulls and
Okay.
you know, coffees and stuff.
Yeah. Damn,
It's not as glamorous of a life as you might
that
think.
sounds
Yeah.
pretty stressful and sad, to be honest, man. Like you're traveling the world to all these like amazing places, but you're not enjoying it because you're just sitting playing poker, and then you have to deal with the stress of losing like
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think it was, and then it's like smoky because everyone
Yeah,
over
yeah.
there smokes.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
have rules against that. It's just, and then my back would hurt, you know,
Yeah.
from sitting in a chair for like that long.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to stay awake. So
Dude,
it was tough. Yeah.
that's tough, man. That's kind of sad. It's definitely not as glamorous as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think no jobs are glamorous, right? It's like
Yeah, I
you
guess
see
that's
the
true.
good, you see them at the top, but
Yeah.
then there's a lot of stuff.
You
behind
only
the
see the
scenes.
good stuff, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the nice penthouses and all the big pots that you're winning, but you don't
Yeah,
think
like
about all the bad
racks
stuff.
of money.
Yeah.
You don't see all the money that they lost, only the wins.
Damn. So what is the largest amount of money that you've won at like one time, like a tournament or like one big pod, or
I think probably about the same.
about $1
$1
million?
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel? Like, were you super happy about that and you were just chilling for like, days or whatever? Or were you like, all right, on to the next one. I need to keep going.
I think back then I wasn't able to like enjoy the times as much. So I'm like, okay, on to the next one. It's like you win, you expect to win. If you lose, it hurts a lot. So I think overall, I was just like, okay, I'm expecting to win. So you hurt more when you lose than you're happy when you win, for sure. At least for me.
Interesting.
Which is not that good of a mentality.
Yeah. So you lose $1 million and then you're just like devastated and you're just like sleeping for like days, and then when you win, you're just like, all right, I need to keep going. Let's go.
Yeah.
This is what should have happened. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting mentality.
No, this is cool. This is a cool interview because I never thought about
Never really
that,
thought about that stuff.
And I'm reflecting, I'm like, man, I should have enjoyed the wins more, and I should have, at least as much as the losses.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't, for sure.
Well, now you can look back and learn from that.
For sure.
And so what made you stop playing poker? I mean, clearly you were pretty successful doing it. Like, what made you decide to kind of step away from poker and move on to the next thing?
I think overall I was okay. So this kind of happened over maybe a few years, but in 2012 I think the whole online poker laws, they shut it down kind of.
Okay, so that kind of drove you to kind of start
little
looking
bit.
at other things.
We could have moved out of the country and made $2 million a year playing poker.
Okay.
So my brother ended up doing that.
Oh, okay.
He went to Canada, had a house in Vancouver. I think he wanted to grow himself too, so it was a convenient opportunity. And then I was like, man, I don't want to move that much, and I also want to make a lot more. I don't want to make $2 million a year. That's like not enough at that time. Really greedy, I think, to say, because that's a lot of money, obviously.
Yeah.
Then I was like, let's open restaurants, make 4 of them immediately, and then sell it off in 6 months and never have to work again for the rest of our lives.
That was your business plan, just to build 4 restaurants and then sell it off? And
Yeah, it was really bad, man. Considering the team that I got was all my close friends, and combined, all 5 of us had, I think I was the only one with restaurant experience, and I was a server, not
as
like
a
a
waiter.
I don't know anything. Yeah, for like a couple months,
So how did you settle on restaurants? Because most people that think about restaurants think about how hard it is to run a successful restaurant. Like, restaurants are tough businesses, right? So how did you go from poker and you're like, all right, restaurants is the thing?
Before you work in a restaurant, you think that, oh, this person's paying like $50 for this crab. I can go to Giant and get it for $7.99. That means they must be making $43 in profit.
So the profit margins are so good.
That's what you would think, but after working in restaurants, the profit margin of an average restaurant is like 5%.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
It's like you buy something for $50, you might make $2, off of it. But
so
that
naive,
is like just not.
So that
not
is
doing
what
research.
kind of drove you to do a restaurant. You're just like, all right,
So
you go
easy, so much money.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, damn.
It's pretty naive, man.
And so how long did it, so 2012 is when you opened your first restaurant?
2012, yeah. We started working on it 2011, but
Okay,
it took
so it
us
took
a long
about a
time to
year.
open.
Okay. And that brings us to Happy Endings Hospitality, right? So when did you come up with that name?
Yeah, so our restaurant was called, in case you guys don't know, it's called Chase and Tails.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. And then our second restaurant was called Role Play Grill.
Okay.
So we kind of had that little,
Oh, so
sexual theme
you
going
didn't
there.
have the happy endings thing first. You actually started the
Right.
other restaurants first.
Right. We didn't know we were going to become a group. So when you become a group, then you need like a
Yeah,
parent
like
brand.
the umbrella company or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always thought that you came up with Happy Endings Hospitality first, and then from there you start coming out with those restaurants with those names.
Yeah, no, honestly, we didn't even know what the word hospitality meant when we first opened restaurants. That's how
It
bad
was
we
after
are.
like reading that book.
Yeah, Danny Myers' book. He's the person that brought hospitality to us, and then that's when we realized we need to have hospitality.
Okay. And so Chase and Tails is it's like a seafood restaurant, right? It's like a Creole based restaurant that kind of has like a Vietnamese flair. Is that correct? Is that how you would describe Chase and Tails?
Pretty much, yeah. Cajun Creole. There are some Vietnamese flavors in it,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's basically a seafood boil type restaurant from Louisiana.
And what made you decide on that cuisine for your first restaurant? Are you from Louisiana? Do you have family in Louisiana?
Yeah, my parents both went to LSU,
Okay.
Louisiana State University, so that's kind of how
Okay.
all of our relatives live down there. And
Okay.
we used to visit them all the time. Used to do the whole crawfish boil on the table, gumbo. My uncle's gumbo is the best. I'm just missing that up here.
Okay.
At that time, there was none of these types of restaurants up here. Now you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
But back then, we were the first one in the.
Okay, I didn't know that. So that actually makes perfect sense then. I mean, you have family that's out there, so that may be the most logical thing to like start with. And so now, how did you come up with that name?
So we wanted to be called Heads or Tails, which
Okay.
I thought was the best name ever because it has a like homage to poker, like flipping a coin.
Yeah.
But also like crawfish, when you eat it, you suck the head and pinch the tail.
Yeah.
So then that has a dual meaning.
Yeah.
So, but when we, this is another rookie mistake. We probably spent about 10 to 15,000 like marketing it.
Okay.
Maybe 20,000. Like with all these promotions, we made a lot of material with it, and then we found out it was already trademarked.
Oh.
So we're like, shit, we need another name fast. So
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we did a Facebook ad. We only had a few Facebook competition,
Yeah.
and we just had.
I think
names.
I think I remember that poll on Facebook.
Oh, that's funny, yeah.
I can't remember which one I picked, but I do remember that poll being on there. And so now there's two of those, right?
2 Chasing Tails now.
Okay,
Yeah.
but like so after the first Chase and Tails, then came it wasn't the second one. You opened a different restaurant after that.
We opened Chasing Tails, the second one, and the Role Play Vietnamese Grill around the same month.
Okay, about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so now what is role play?
Role Play is it's the spring rolls and egg rolls. That's a Vietnamese, two of the most famous dishes in Vietnamese culture. So it's basically a Vietnamese Chipotle.
Okay.
We wanted to be the place where you can make your own rolls, similar to how Chipotle, you make your own burritos.
Yeah.
Down the line.
Okay. And then what came after that?
And then we did another restaurant that's a boba restaurant. It's called Teasing You. And then we did Laid, which is a Hawaiian. It's like those lays you wear in Hawaii. Yeah. So it's Laid Hawaiian poke.
Okay. And then you opened like a food hall thing after that, right?
Yeah, it's called Happy Endings Eatery, but I think we got a lot of backlash for it, and so also you couldn't search up on Yelp, so that hurt a lot. So we changed the name to Happy Eatery.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought it was still called Happy Endings Eatery.
Yeah, well, it was, but yeah, just a lot of backlash from.
Okay.
I think the Me Too movement hurt us a little bit with
Okay.
publicity, and then they started blocking all searches for happy endings on Yelp and those kinds of sites that we need for people to find us.
So yeah, like obviously all of your restaurants have a certain theme to the name, right? So when did you decide that? Did you decide that with Chase and Tails, or was it after Chase and Tails you were like, all right, let's keep rolling with this theme?
I think it was after Role Play.
Okay.
I think my brother had the idea, if we do this, it might go viral or people will talk about it.
Yeah.
So we thought that we were going to get a lot of publicity for it.
Okay.
And I think we still do. Sometimes you'll hear people laughing when you walk around the restaurant. Did you know that other restaurant's named Teasing You? And then and then everyone will just laugh. So that's
and so now
a good thing.
Is that going to be the theme moving forward, do you think? Do you think you guys are going to keep trying to name your restaurants like this?
This one is tough to tell because our latest restaurants, we have, so the landlord's really nice to us. But what happened was that we have Chase and Tails, Laid, no, Chasing Tails. We had role play over there, and then we wanted the last one to be another sexual innuendo. It's okay. Long story short, the story is like it's about my it's one of our partners. Her family is like famous artists.
Okay.
So that's like how all the food's gonna be made. Like the storytelling is gonna be about the art and food basically, and we wanted to call it Strokes.
Okay.
And then they said, no, you can't do that. This is it's too many next to each other. One or two by itself is okay, but when you put three next to each other like that, it'll ruin the value of our shopping center.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get backlash. So then we tried Lay Strokes. Her name is Lay. Her last name is Lay. That's her family. So we were calling it Lay Strokes because French and Vietnamese influence each other with food. And then they said, no, don't try to do anything. Don't try to sneak in the own bias or that this is it. So then we called it New, which is her grandpa's like famous painting.
Okay.
And Nu stands for nude in French.
Okay.
So we did sneak.
And they let that slide?
They didn't know, so we snuck it by them. But
so you're still trying to keep that theme going, at least as much as you can.
Trying to keep it going, but I can see it hindering us like in the future.
Yeah. So that's what I was gonna ask you next was, did anyone tell you it was a bad idea to name your restaurants these? Like, did anyone's like, hey man, this is probably going to be pretty offensive to some people, and it may actually hurt your sales or the number of people coming to your restaurants because this is funny to some, but it may not be funny to others.
It's pretty funny because I think the whole Me Too movement, that one really it made it so that it was on Arlington Now like front page, like polls. Do you guys think? I remember there was a poll that, do you guys think happy endings hospitality is offensive?
Yeah, taking it too far.
Yeah. So it did end up. I don't know if it's truly bad for sales because it made people aware of the brand.
Yeah.
So it could have been good. It's arguable, but I think we never knew that. We couldn't tell that the Me Too movement was going to happen.
Okay.
That was like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I'd say it's helpful to the brand.
So you never had any like major issues with the names, right? Like no one's ever like really
not yet
come up to you and be like, all right, man, it's too much.
There was another one that said another place that we wanted to go to before COVID. We wanted to put like 4 of our restaurants next to each other, and they said no because of our names. So it did end up hurting later on. I think location selecting, stuff like that. But I think overall a lot of people like us because of that too. So it's arguable.
Yeah, I mean it's still publicity, right? Like
regardless
of it, all publicity is good publicity, man. Yeah, because like I don't know if like Elon Musk and Tesla, you know about how he wanted to name his cars, right?
My brother's like the biggest fan of Elon Musk. So
yeah.
He did tell me about that.
Yeah. Like it's the same thing. I think he had like a PR guy, whoever was just like, hey man, you can't name this car E so that all 4 of your cars spell out the word sexy. Like he had to change something, which is why there's a Model 3. Elon Musk was like, all right, like just change the 3 or change the E into a 3 so it still says, sexy. It's a Model S, Model 3, Model X, Model Y. So I was just curious if you had anyone's like, hey man, you need to stop. Like this is too much. So
we just recently hired a strategist who's helping us. He's like one of the best restaurant consultants in the world, but he's saying that he doesn't know. He has mixed feelings on the name. He has a hunch that is bad for us slightly because you don't want to add any additional challenges in if you don't have to.
Yeah.
But I guess the verdict is still like it's still to be decided.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know. I say keep going with it, man. I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's cool.
Obviously you are continuing to open restaurants, so your restaurant business is successful, but restaurants are hard. Did anyone at the beginning tell you not to do it? Like, did your parents say like, hey man, restaurants are hard. We have a friend that had a restaurant that failed. Did anyone kind of steer you away from doing restaurants?
I think pretty much everyone in my life steered me away from it.
Yeah.
I was like me against everyone. I thought. My brother, who was like, we had come up, and for those that don't know, me and my brother, we joined bankrolls. So we combined all of our money until we were like, 30, like maybe a few years ago.
Okay.
But he definitely did not want to touch restaurants. He said we were making $2 million a year. That's like unheard of money.
Yeah.
Back then we would have been happy making $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
That was like a dream. We already hit it. So why are we like risking everything?
Yeah. Why change anything?
And my parents, same way, because they have the other uncles that have had restaurants that have failed, and they invest like 7 years and a lot of like time, energy, and then they lose all their money.
Yeah.
So they want us to keep making 2 million a year,
Yeah.
for each of us. And so I don't think there was anyone that was for restaurants, because they like, you can always do restaurants later, but poker, eventually it's not going to be around anymore.
So with all these people telling you not to do it, why did you decide to do it? Like how did you ignore all that? How did you overcome all that, all those suggestions and opinions of don't do it?
I don't think about it. I was pretty stubborn back then too.
So you're like, because you are all telling me not to do it, I'm going to do it and prove you wrong.
Yeah, I think that was at least a driving
part of
force,
it.
even though I didn't want to say it. I did say it a few times, but I think that was probably more of a stronger driving force than I thought it was.
Yeah. And so now, like I said, it's very successful. And so you were successful in poker. You are now successful in, restaurants. What parallels do you have between the two? Are there things that you learned from poker that you applied to running and opening restaurants that you think helped you achieve your success?
I think overall, there's so many lessons that kind of parallel. There's just like small skills that you don't think you're doing in poker, but you're actually doing, like just calculating numbers all the time.
Yeah.
Just consistently optimizing. I think with poker, we were pretty successful because we controlled our ego. I think there was a lot of people that were more talented than me, but I ended up being much more successful because I never gambled too much. I didn't have the emotional like tilt problems,
Yeah.
which a lot of people have in poker, which is really weird to me. It's like you're playing for like millions and you lose and you click again and try to win that million back in one hand. But I think that's something that is more important. Also discipline, being able to like grind it out. That I was playing like for 48 hours straight sometimes with poker.
Yeah.
And it's just all those skills that you kind of take for granted. They're like soft skills.
Yeah.
And I think that helps with restaurants because you definitely need that when you go into a new area like this.
And so with poker, you've had some big failures. Like you said, you've lost like $1 million playing a hand of poker. Have there been any big failures for you as far as the restaurant business?
Yeah, I think we're going through a pretty tough time right now because I know the whole COVID thing hurt a lot. But we're learning, or at least I'm being a lot more humbled with restaurants lately.
Yeah.
So I think seeing how like this whole project at Founders Row has to succeed, it's like I don't want to say we're all in on this project, but it got a little bit too close to like flew a little too close to the sun. And gambled too much this time. But I think if Founders Row, the new project, were to succeed, I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
But I think that's like just letting it risk a little bit more than I think we would like. That's probably the biggest mistake I would say.
Yeah. I mean, so minus like the recent stuff and COVID and all that, like you guys, did you have any other like restaurant failures? Like, I don't think you guys had to close anything, right?
We haven't had to close anything, but the food hall in Roslyn, I think it's an office heavy area for those that don't know.
Yeah.
So I think the office traffic went down by like 90% during COVID. And when you're paying that premium for that office area, you just can't win. You're like just getting killed every day.
Has that picked back up though? Now that people are going back into the office slowly?
Yeah, it's starting to get better. It's supposed to be like 1% occupancy extra every month. So it went from like 10%. Now it's at 35-36%.
Okay. So that's good.
Hopefully, it'll pick up more.
And so now, speaking of like the COVID pandemic and all that stuff with your restaurant, a lot of restaurants, and I know personally some restaurant owners that had to close up their restaurants, right? Like during that. How did you overcome that problem? Like the whole pandemic and all the hardships of, not, being open and all that. Like, what did you guys do to survive? Like, what pivots did you make? Like, what did you do?
I think the most proud story that we have was during the pandemic when we had to close down. If you guys don't know, during this time it was really scary for everyone because, especially for restaurants, because we didn't know what we were going to do yet, but we weren't allowed to open. So then we were like immediately concerned about all of our team members who, a lot of them rely on the money to like feed their kids and stuff like that. So we had like, I think 250,000 left in our bank accounts, but then we didn't think about it, but we gave everyone like 4 to 6 weeks of pay. So we would pay them even though we were closed and losing money every day.
Yeah.
So it lasted about 4 to 6 weeks. I think we were really proud of that. I think the next few days later, we're all scared. And then we came back and said, okay, we gotta get to work again. So we kind of pivoted and did a delivery system
Okay.
around the whole DMV area. So
Okay.
we went to Maryland. We went as far as Gainesville.
Yeah.
So we expanded our delivery radius by like maybe 100 times.
Okay.
And then we had 3 hubs from 3 of our restaurants. And then we had like a lot of back of the house that needed the money. They
Okay.
really need the money to like feed their kids.
Yeah.
They were able to be repositioned as delivery drivers, even though some deliveries were taking 35 minutes
Yeah,
one way
yeah.
and then 35 minutes back. They were able to like at least make tips and make money. So
Yeah.
we were able to create that win-win-win for our guests that really missed our food,
Yeah.
our teammates that needed it, and the company was able to make a little bit.
Nice.
And we donated food to like it was like 1 pho for every entree that we sold. So
Yeah.
we were able to help out the food needy people too. So that was part of the, I don't know, probably one of the most fulfilling times in our company's history.
No, that's awesome, because it's like, things like that, the pandemic, COVID and all that, it sucks, because a lot of businesses close, but it does force certain businesses to pivot and become stronger, right? Like, for instance, you guys, it was a struggle, but you were able to learn from that experience and pivot and, make a success out of it, right? Like, you guys were able to pay all the employees, you were able to keep all your customers happy and kind of, they're not going to forget about your food and your restaurants and stuff. And then, you were even able to like donate. So I think, and that was a success, successful time, right? I mean, even though it kind of sucked, but, overall, it's still a successful time now.
Yeah, I think anytime you're executing and doing something instead of just sitting there and thinking about it, I think you're able to learn a lot from your mistakes, or you can figure out how to pivot.
Yeah.
I think that's always going to be how you get to success, even if that act itself is not success. Which for us, we got lucky because that was a success as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just sit around and worry about the negative, right? Like what's happening, what's bad that's happening. You need to just execute. Think about what to do next, and you need to pivot. You need to think about how to execute, and you just got to do it, and then hope for the best. And if it doesn't work, next one, right?
Yep.
Instead
of just
learn
from it.
Yeah, instead of just sitting around and just being pissed off. Cool. I mean, you're a very busy individual. What is, first of all, you have something around your neck, which I'm going to ask you about, but now I want to talk about, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a strength coach, nutrition coach. And so obviously I teach people how to take care of themselves. I teach people how to live a healthy lifestyle to, promote happiness and stuff like that. You, from what I hear, you're pretty big on self-care, optimization, and biohacking. So what exactly is that? What is biohacking? What do you do to take care of yourself and optimize, your energy, your happiness, your whatever?
So biohacking, that's if I define that in one sense, it's like changing your environment or controlling your environment so that you can be the best version of yourself.
Okay.
And people define that differently. I think people are in biohacking for different reasons. Some are for longevity, some is for athleticism. For me, I think the most important driver is probably brain power and optimization. So brain power, like I'm trying to be able to work longer at my peak focus.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I do a lot of stuff that has to do with that. For example, I guess this thing around my neck, it lets me change my, so I don't know if it works or not. I think it does. But it's called a happy. So like hap with B, like the B.
Yeah.
So you can change your mood based on like if you want calm, focus, if you want sleepy, like at the end of the night. Or
how does that do that?
I don't know the science behind it. A lot of times I just read the articles, and then a lot of people that are that are trusted biohackers say it works. It's magnetism, but I don't know much about it.
Okay, so now are there like buttons to change something? So let's just say you want to go from energy to like sleepy. Like, do you just push something, or is it just like?
I just changed it on my phone. There's an app that.
So there's an app where you just you change your mood, and then that thing will change it.
It takes about 30 minutes. It changes the fields, and then it takes 30 minutes to an hour.
Interesting. And But other than electromagnetic waves and stuff, you don't know exactly how that works.
I don't know how it works. I think I should be more curious in how it works. But for me, biohacking, I just do like the 80-20, like the 80% or the 20% that gives 80% of the results. So I don't spend that much time understanding the science behind it.
Do you feel like it works?
I think it works. At the end of the night, I'll turn on like sleepy or calm, and then I'll like meditate.
Yeah. How much does that thing cost?
This one's $400. I think.
So that's not bad.
It's not that bad. It's a monthly subscription as well. So I don't know. It's worth it for
sure
at $400.
And then is that like an Aura ring you have on?
Yeah, this is an Aura ring. It tracks your
sleep and your stress levels and all that stuff.
Stress levels.
So what else do you do for your biohacking? Do you do like those hyperbaric chambers and all that stuff?
That's one that I've been wanting to get for a while, but it's really expensive.
Yeah.
I have a red light therapy thing, the Juve, which is a red light that you can turn on infrared. It's supposed to heal you, improve your testosterone, skin, hair, all that.
We actually have one of those upstairs, a smaller one. We don't have like the full size Juve there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you have? I want to know about all the biohacking equipment that you have.
I have this thing that you put on your head, and it basically is red light therapy, but straight focus to your brain. And you also put in your nose because it makes it so it goes to your brain like more focused than like the Juve. It doesn't.
So like one of those like helmet things.
It's like a
helmet with electrodes.
Looks like Professor X.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Professor X.
Yeah, exactly.
And what does that do?
That supposed to make your brain have more energy, so you can optimize.
It's like
focus.
Stimulating your brain.
Mm-hmm. You can change it to like alpha waves, which I think makes you a little bit more calm, more creative.
Okay.
And then you can turn it to gamma, which makes you more like focused, I think.
How much is that?
That one's $2,500 or something. Damn. So that one's a little more expensive than this happy. I think honestly, a lot of the stuff that we can do, like those are called like extras. They're nice to have. But if you do like the 80-20, like the sleep, the nutrition, the exercise, maybe like sauna and cold showers, I think that's where you get most of the rewards.
But here's the thing, like, when you are, so busy and trying to be as efficient as possible, if you're able to increase either energy, focus, or efficiency, or whatever it is by like 1% or 2%, it's probably worth it for someone at your level of, success, busyness, or whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just want that extra percentage, right? And so if these things can potentially give it to you, it's a small price to pay, right?
No, I agree with you 1,000%. I just think a lot of times we would, or myself included, wouldn't like to, like, for example, I told you before, I haven't been gymming for the last 3 months. So I should be worried more about like making sure I get to the gym for 1 hour than, like.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that was actually one of the things I was going to ask you, you know what I mean? Like, do you think it'd be better, like use of your, not necessarily your time, but like energy to kind of push yourself back into the gym and at least like, 2-3 times a week?
No, I agree with you 1,000% for sure.
What else you got, man? Like what other biohacking things do you have?
I have a sauna that it's in my house. So I use it pretty much at least 4 times a week. Okay. And then in the backyard, we can start doing it again, but I have a cold, like a big 300-gallon tub. Like an ice bath thing? Yeah. Okay. So I think during the winter it's really easy to use because, it's 40 something outside most nights. So I can just go straight from the sauna into the cold bath, and then I'll go shower.
If you had to guess, what is the total amount of money you've spent on biohacking to like max optimize your mind and body for what you do?
I think if you count everything, like learning about it as well.
Oh no,
courses,
more
or just gadgets.
Gadgets, yeah.
Probably like 50,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
Worth the investment.
I think that's a pretty good investment if you're able to like squeeze out an extra like 5% of efficiency and energy and stuff.
Yeah, I think my I don't want to say guilty pleasure, but like my thing that I really want to do is this it's a meditation. It's not a meditation class, but it's like a meditation. There's a machine, and it's in Seattle. Okay. They let you go in this machine. It teaches you how to meditate, and it promises you 40 years of Zen. So like you learn how to meditate, and it like trains you over time, like 1 week, so you can have the same waves as like a monk that's meditated for 40 years, basically. I was just about to ask you if you meditate. Yeah. Yeah. I do like 20 minutes a day, but like nothing serious. But I think this course like $10,000
Yeah.
for a week. But
Do you
you're
do
supposed
like
to get it.
do you just use like an app to meditate, or how do you do your meditations?
Maybe sometimes I would use an app, but I think most of the time it's just I use the Aura.
Yeah.
It has that same sounds, and then you just
Have you
20 minutes.
have you heard of a TM or transcendental meditation?
Actually, have been interested in that because one of my people that I look up to,
Yeah.
most successful people in the world, he talks about how
Yeah.
that changed him
Yeah.
completely.
You know, my first episode of this podcast was with my older cousin, and he's the one that got all of us to go pay and get coached on TM.
Wow.
And I think it's definitely a good thing. It's beneficial. I am sad to say I haven't been as regular and routine about my meditation, but I'm definitely trying to get back to like a good routine and schedule with that. But I can honestly say that when I was consistent with it, it definitely made a difference. So for someone like you who's investing 50K into gadgets and stuff for his optimization, I think at the very least, I think you should try the TM before, because you know you're talking about that other meditation thing out in Seattle. Like, you know, I'm sure this investment probably wouldn't hurt either.
Oh, nice.
So I would consider doing that.
What do you think is different between that and like regular meditation?
Here's the thing: I never did meditation before,
Oh, I see.
so I went straight into this one. So I have no good comparison. I've tried some of those apps and stuff before, but I don't know. Even either I didn't know what I was doing, or I didn't take it seriously, and I didn't really get any benefits out of it, I guess. But the TM, when I was doing that regularly, I really did notice a difference as far as energy levels and focus and stuff. It truly did work for me. And like I said, you know, my older cousins and other people in my family, they all have done it, and pretty much all of them agree that it's quite beneficial.
No, thanks for that. I'll definitely check it out
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, do it, man. Like, what was I gonna say? Not less. So you know, we've talked about meditation and, you know, all the you know, self-care optimization stuff that you do. What about nutrition? You know, if you're around food all the time, how's your nutrition? Is it pretty good? Like, are you able to stay away from all the good food at your restaurants? Do you cook your own food, or do you just eat all that stuff?
The thing that I really am doing right now is a keto diet.
Okay.
So I've been keto for a long time now. I think I started when I was 35.
Okay.
But I would do like, let's say 6 days keto, and one day I can eat whatever I want.
Okay.
But I think that helps a lot with brain power and stuff like that. So creating those like black and white rules where it's like, okay, you can't eat past this many carbs, makes it so I can resist the food from our restaurants.
Okay. Yeah. So how often do you eat your restaurant food?
Sometimes I'll have to taste stuff because that's just part of the job.
Yeah.
New recipes and things like that. But pretty rarely, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty rarely.
Like, when's the last time you sat down and had like a full meal at one of your restaurants?
I honestly don't remember, other than a tasting.
Yeah.
I might have a full meal where a chef comes in and cooks.
Yeah.
It has to have been at least a couple years.
And that's some discipline, man. Like, to not eat the food when you're like around it all the time.
Yeah, I think so. But the black and white rules really help, or else I'd be like killing candy and food and all my
if
guilty
I were you,
pleasures.
I would have like a bubble tea like every single day, man. Just because I could.
So good.
So can you describe to me like a typical day for you, like a typical work day? You know, I mean, not like a weekend day where you're not doing anything, but like a work day. Like, when does it start? What do you do? Yeah.
So it depends on the day, but like for the most part, I would wake up at, let's say, 5:45. I'm trying to get in my office by 6 o'clock. So I drink a bunch of water first, with like some hydrogen pills. It's supposed to give you energy.
Okay.
A bunch of supplements, vitamins I take in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I go into my office, and then I try to get 3 to 4 hours of focused deep work in.
Okay.
And that can be like anything from just reflections to like looking at business strategy, considering what we should do expansion wise, things like that. and then I would go to my first meetings. Maybe there's a few hours of meetings, and then I would do like lower leverage stuff where I don't need as much full focus brain power.
Yeah.
So that's probably like 4 to 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And then I'll go home and then wind down for a couple hours, and then sauna and maybe ice bath that helps me sleep better.
Okay.
And then I'll put on my blue light blocking red glasses.
Yeah.
And then for the last hour, and then try to get a good night's sleep in, and then do it again the next day.
Yeah. So you wake up at about 5:45, and you go to sleep about when?
This is ideal day. I have to have black and white rules where if I don't if I don't wake up by 6, get in my office by 6 o'clock, more than 4 or 5 times a week, depends on the week. Let's say 5 times a week, then I have to donate $2,500 to charity.
Okay.
So
that's a pretty good
it's like a black and white
motivator.
Rule.
Yeah. Is your office in your house?
It's at my house.
Okay, I was gonna say
so I just need to run downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I just run in there really fast.
Yeah, so like let's just say your day starts at 6 and then it typically ends.
This is ideal, but like let's say 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30, I'm in bed.
Okay, 10:30 you're in bed. So, all right, so you get about what 7 hours of sleep.
7.5 to maybe 8.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And so now, we talked about this. Where are you gonna fit in working out, man? You got a pretty busy schedule there.
I
wake up a little earlier, maybe.
No, I think every week I make a habits list that I have to keep, or I have to donate, that money to charity.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would add like this number of gym visits. I just took that off a few months ago. I never put it back on, but I could do it for like, next week.
Why did you take it off?
I think I was like, man, this is so hard to keep up, because a lot of times if I don't go in the morning, then I go at night, and then it ruins my sleep.
Yeah.
Because it takes me like 3 or 4 hours to wind down.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I'm a big pre-workout person.
Yeah.
I also notice when I take that, then I crash.
Yeah, you crash pretty hard.
So I can't focus.
So now, have you considered, like, I don't know how much space you have in your house, but have you considered just getting a little bit of equipment at home so that you can at least get like 30-minute workout in real quick in the middle of the day? Like, it could be after your initial like 3-4 hours of like hard focus work, and then you can get like a quick 30 minutes in before meetings, or maybe after meetings you get a quick 30 minutes before your low level work that doesn't need as much like mental energy. Like, have you thought about doing something like that?
It's funny because we do have like a pull-up bar, and the whole Roman chair we can do like this. But it became like my clothes hanger.
Yeah.
Like I put my clothes on there now.
Yeah.
So it's bad, but I should do it. I mean, having the equipment's easy, but the actual doing part is.
Yeah. I mean, I would. This was just like an idea, just because of someone who is so busy and like schedule oriented. I have a buddy of mine. He's super busy as well, very successful, but he has a. Have you seen those like tonals?
Yeah.
So like,
cool,
obviously,
sure.
you like your gadgets and all that stuff. That would be an investment, because that's something doesn't take up a lot of space,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get like a full on workout in like 20-30 minutes. So for someone who likes his gadgets for self-care and optimization, I think something like that doesn't have to be that, but something like that may be worth the investment so that you can get back into the gym, man.
No, I agree with you for sure.
Because yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel that whenever I am able to carve out time for working out in my busy days, it actually gives me more energy for the rest of the day. I honestly, I don't take pre-workouts and stuff, and I have coffee and energy drinks and stuff like that, but I don't take those pre-workouts anymore. So I don't really have those crashes in the middle of the day. So if I get like a workout in the like late morning, early afternoon, honestly, it does help me push through the rest of my day, because it gets you just like this energy burst for the rest of the day. I don't know if you've ever felt that when you were more consistent about your working out.
Yeah, I think if I did it, it would have to be after my deep work session. So late morning, it sounds like a really good time.
Yeah.
Because I think that's when you start like losing a little
bit. Yeah,
you
start losing focus, and you start
Mm-hmm.
getting tired and stuff. And, if you were to just like find that 30-minute gap just to
Mm-hmm.
like go upstairs or go downstairs or whatever, get a quick workout in, it may actually re-elevate that energy so that you're ready to go for your meetings or that other work that you have set for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm actually try that, and
hey,
then,
man,
and then sauna, and then ice bath, and then take a shower right there. I think that'll be like a really efficient day.
I just fixed your scheduling.
And give me more energy too. Thanks.
I just helped you out on that, man. You're welcome.
Thanks for the free tip.
Yeah, man, of course. Cool. So what's next? You briefly talked about the next kind of set of restaurants that's opening in Founders Row, which is in Falls Church. Can you talk a little more about that? Like what's opening there? What's the timeline? All that stuff.
All right, so we got Chasing Tails that we're moving from the original location, maybe a mile down the street to here.
Oh, so you're moving it?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the lease expires and
Okay,
kind of
okay.
outgrew that space.
Yeah.
So Chasing Tails is one restaurant there. Role play, we're adding a second role play there, and then the third one is a Vietnamese fine dining, fine casual, I guess you call it, between like fine dining and casual. But that's our toughest challenge right now. We are not used to like making all the food look pretty. We're used to like turning out faster.
Yeah.
So we're like in the kitchen researching a lot. Just trying to work on all the processes and all the things that you need for a fine dining restaurant.
Okay. What's the timeline for this?
This is opening December, I think 7th.
Damn, that's
our target.
soon.
Yeah, it's pretty
Nice.
soon. We got like 50 days left.
Yeah. All three of them opening at once?
All three of them opening at once.
And are they like all like literally next door to each other, or are they kind of spread out in that like shopping area?
They're next door to each other. They share one kitchen too, so we get to cross utilize our leaders, our labor,
Okay.
things like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
It should be helping with.
I mean, it should be
profits.
super convenient. If you're there, you can literally just run down to the next spot.
I'm actually getting an apartment upstairs there
Yeah.
because I find that you have to be there a lot when you first open.
Yeah.
Or you get to be there a lot, depending on the guy. But you can just go downstairs and help out with anything.
Okay, cool. And then is there anything else kind of like in the books for after this? Like any plans of other restaurants?
Yeah, I don't think we've decided which route we're gonna go with. Whether it's like making a bunch of role plays or making a bunch of Chasing Tails or making more of these these 3 restaurant conglomerates.
Yeah.
But we'll see based on how well this one does.
Yeah.
And then we'll push forward from there.
Dude, that's exciting.
Thank you.
And then I usually like to, not usually, but I always like to close out my podcast with like a simple question of what advice do you have for anyone out there who's trying to start their own business? Doesn't have to necessarily be restaurant business, but what advice? What is like the main advice that you could give someone, or at least that you have gotten maybe that has helped you be successful? It's a tough question.
That's a really good question for sure. Okay, I think I would say okay, I have two answers to this question. One would be to watch YouTubers like Tom Biu and Alex Hormozy. Those are like the 2 best teachers.
Yeah.
I think if you're able to actually internalize those lessons, then you'd be 10 times further than anyone else, like way further than I was. It would shave a decade off your learning at least.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that, but I think the ability to learn is the most important thing. The ability to learn. So you need to have like a growth mindset. I know a lot of you guys talk about growth mindset, like Carol Dweck wrote a book on it. But basically, being able to learn objectively and look at yourself from like a third person. So take out your ego, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's like the most important lesson that I would give. But I think you can learn a lot from these guys, and they pretty much give the same lesson, but a lot more tactical stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much information out there nowadays, like YouTube, all the other social media, books and stuff. There's so much information out there. A lot of times, you just have to set your ego aside and be willing to learn and at least understand or realize that you don't know everything. You might be really good at what you do, like you're successful at poker, you're successful at restaurants, but at no point, at least it doesn't seem like at any point you were like, all right, I'm the best, I'm good. Like I don't need to listen to anyone. Like you're always open to learn. And I think if you have that mindset of open-mindedness to, take opinions, take suggestions, take any information that someone has that could potentially help you, I think you need to be open to at least hear it and take what you can out of that.
I agree 1,000%. I think just the mindset to learn and makes you want to go out and seek from other people, like reading books, watching podcasts, just all those things that shave like years and years off your learning curve. It's so crazy.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I'm gonna get your like links and stuff to all of your restaurants, any social media, pages that you have that you want me to share to everyone. I would advise everyone to try all your restaurants. I've been to every single one except for the Happy Endings Eatery. I haven't made it out to that one just because I'm never out in the Roslyn area.
Yeah.
But I frequently go to all of yours. I think the last one was, I think we were at Teas and You for bubble tea like a week ago. And then maybe like a week or two before that, we were at Late Pokey to get a poke bowl. So I would advise everyone to go stop by your restaurants. They're delicious. And honestly, I can't wait until you open the new ones in Falls Church because that's right down the street from my parents' house. So I can
Awesome.
so I'm pretty sure we'll be going there quite regularly. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And thank you, Z, for joining me on this podcast. If you guys can all, whatever platform you're listening to it on, make sure you guys rate it, leave a good review, share it with your friends and family. And again, Z, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you. I love what you're doing. I'm very impressed by everything. So hope everything works out for you too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having
man.
me.
Thank you everyone so much for listening, and don't stop achieving. Peace.